Mr Davis.
President, my question is for the Minister for Small Business. And I ask, why did the government cut sole traders from all state government business support during both lockdowns, a scorched earth policy, and do you as Small Business Minister support this harsh policy that targets our smallest businesses?
Mr Pulford.
Thank you, President, and I thank Mr Davis for his question about small business support as part of our response to the pandemic. Mr Davis is, it would seem, incorrectly informed about the situation insofar as it relates to the supports available for small businesses that are sole traders. Yes, that's right. So if I could just provide an indication to the House of the support that is available to sole traders, that might assist. The government has recently announced a small business mentoring initiative. This program matches small business owners, including sole traders, with experienced professionals who will help them to adapt their businesses and strategies. There's a mental health for small business owners program. As part of that program, St John's Ambulance will provide accredited mental health support, training to chambers of commerce across Victoria to swiftly boost mental health capabilities within local business communities. So this is about embedding mental health specialists within industry and business associations and extending the partners in wellbeing hotlines so that people who are experiencing distress as a result of the extraordinary circumstances that they find themselves in as they manage the challenges associated with the pandemic response and the restrictions that are keeping us all safe. The Commercial Tenancies Relief Scheme is also available to small businesses that are sole traders, and the government has recently announced our intention to extend those arrangements to the end of this calendar year. There are other supports that are available to sole traders, as well as the supports that Small Business Victoria continue to provide year in and year out, as well as the supports that have been stood up as part of the government's very significant economic response to support small businesses through the pandemic. We absolutely understand how challenging this is and how extraordinary a set of circumstances business owners and operators are facing as a result of the pandemic. I know those opposite are in the let her rip camp when it comes to pandemic response, which is incredibly irresponsible and certainly not the view, I think, of most small business owners and operators who would prefer to see the curve flattened and to see the pandemic contained as much as is humanly possible in Victoria, so that we can then open up again in a safe and orderly way and they can start to recover their efforts. So we will stand with our small businesses, as we have done, in the order of $10 billion worth of support for our business community and economic recovery to date. And you know, Minister, we will continue to respond.
Minister, time. Probably you're having a problem hearing me. Mr Davis on a supplementary.
Well, Minister, I listened very closely to your response. I did actually. I've taken notes right through it. Indeed, I don't think there's substantive support in this that counts. But let me ask a simple question. Which small business organisations have you met with to discuss the impact of the lockdown on small business and sole traders in particular, and did any of them support the government's policy of providing little, if any, support for sole traders? And if so, which ones?
Minister.
Thank you. And I thank Mr Davis for his supplementary question, which I think reveals that he totally messed up his substantive question by asking and asserting something that was just fundamentally inaccurate. I think probably the best thing, given the time limits in the chamber, is to take on notice the question about which organisations I've met with, because it is vastly more than I could name in the time permitted. I'd also indicate that in the 2 months that I have been in this portfolio, I have continually met with business organisations, and the programs that we have developed in the period I've been in the portfolios, but also those that precede it, that are still being delivered to our business community. Well, we have worked, with VECI, with the Australian Industry Group, with the Hotel Association, with numerous regional trading organisations, with local trading groups, with Small Business Council on measures that have been introduced.
Fine, thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Barton, Mr. Atkinson on the point.
Mr. President, in view of how serious the small business situation is, can I move that the Minister be granted an extension of 5 minutes to complete her answer?
No, thank you very much for the offer, but I'll ask Mr. Barton, please. Mr. Barton, move question. It doesn't have to, doesn't it? Leave granted. Is that what you meant, Mr. Atkinson? Leave granted. All right. Yes. Thank you. Point of order, Ms. Henk.
Extension of time, it would be really useful for the purpose of getting information onto the record if there could be a ceasefire on the constant interjections that are happening from opposite in the chamber. It is in fact really difficult to get this information through for the purposes that the opposition is seeking, when in fact there is, again, Mr O'Donoghue's illustrating the point, there is a constant barrage, the sort of which we don't necessarily agree to tolerate.
Thank you. I call the Minister. Thank you. Order. Minister.
Thank you. This is a good development, and I thank Mr Atkinson for the opportunity to talk a little bit more about the support that we are providing to the business community, about the unique circumstances impacting some sole traders, and the work we are doing in partnership with them to manage what is an extraordinary set of circumstances. So specifically on the question of sole traders. Now, sole traders, the term sole traders is about a business structure. Of the 620,000 small businesses in Victoria, around 412,000 are sole traders. Now, this is in essence, an organisation with an ABN, and there are some sole traders who employ people, and some through different arrangements like contracting, and there are others that do not. So some examples, just because Mr Davis, I think, doesn't really understand. But for instance, a sole trader might be a travel agent, might be a dance teacher, might be a family day educator, might be somebody who does hair and beauty services in people's homes, might be somebody who does dog grooming or garden maintenance. I mean, there are many other examples, but just to paint the picture for people. It is a simple business structure because there are few legal and tax formalities, and the individual who owns and operates the business is responsible for all debts incurred by their business. Now, I assume Mr Davis was asking about earlier decisions made by the government about the Business Support Fund, and at the time the Minister responsible for the Business Support Fund, the Premier, the Treasurer and other colleagues in making those announcements indicated that that was particularly focused on supporting employing businesses, but there are, as I indicated earlier, a number of other interventions and measures to support sole traders and the circumstances that they are in. I'd also take this opportunity, given the assistance of Mr Atkinson and the agreement of the House that I could speak about these matters in a bit more detail, to recognise the extraordinary resilience and innovation that has been on display in our small business community. And I'm not saying this in any way to diminish the very considerable hardship that is being experienced by a lot of people, but I think every member in this place will have seen businesses in their community, businesses that they interact with, that have pivoted and responded and adapted and are having a go, and some with some success and some with considerable success in doing things differently, in contacting the consumers that use their goods or that they use their services in novel ways. And given that I do have the opportunity to have an extra few moments, I would just thank and congratulate those who have done this, because I think it's been nothing short of inspirational. For those experiencing profound hardship, we see you, we hear you, we understand how difficult this is, and we will continue to work with you to the other side of this pandemic. As members would be aware, in the last 24 hours, the government has indicated that we will be on Sunday publishing a roadmap to reopening both the economy but also the social and human interactions that we all so desperately miss. And there is extensive consultation underway over the course of this week with people in business so that we properly understand the challenges associated with, in reverse, in effect, the sort of the mirror experience of some of those finer points of detail on the way into stage 4 restrictions, because of course for each of those 620,000 small businesses in Victoria, it's only the people running those businesses that know them best, and so we need to be hearing from them about the particular nuances and circumstances so that we can make this as practical and safe as possible. Well, it's just a lie, Mr O'Donoghue. I outlined that at the start of my answer to Mr Davis'
5
substantive
minutes,
question.
Thank you.